Hi guys, Andy here. I've been using my Nexus 6 for just over a week now. I thought it was time that I showed you what I thought about it. So here we go, the Nexus 6 review. So let's start with the design. I think it's a very sleek, slick and classy looking design, really. I like that Motorola seem to have kind of found their own design now. So the Moto G 2014, the Moto X and the Nexus 6, they all look like siblings of different ages, really. And I think it's a nice design. I went for the midnight blue. Obviously there's the white one. There were a lot of comments about it being a fingerprint magnet, and you can see there it's a little smudgy. It doesn't particularly bother me. So it does, you can count the oil from your fingers does seem to show up quite well on the back. The other thing, obviously, whoopsie, you'll notice it's got quite a curve to it. And that does mean I like to use mine, just put it on the desk and perhaps I'll be typing away and then I'll come and do things. But it does mean that the phone rocks about quite a lot. It's quite hard to use the keyboard without holding it with the other hand to operate it. I won't lie though, I do quite like just spinning the phone if I'm bored, or you know what it's like, you just like to fiddle with things, and it does it spins very nicely with very little effort. Anyway, so considering the size, it actually feels very good in the hand. It doesn't feel overly heavy, and the nice rounded back, it feels very comfortable basically. It does only just fit in my belt case, which I've used for both my Note 3 and my Note 4. It's loosened the case up over the week and it goes in a bit easier now, but it was quite hard work putting it in initially. It is that much bigger than the previous devices I've used. It does almost feel, once you're past a certain point where one-handed use isn't really possible all the way around the device, that actually just go the big screen as possible, why not, sort of thing. I mean, you get kind of used to actually, you adjust your grip and you can reach most of the device. If you hold it like you would a normal phone, yeah, you're very limited. But if you get used to it, you can operate with one hand. But more and more these days, we bring a second hand in to help out. I must say, part of the design as well is the front-facing speakers. I'm quite a fan of those. We'll talk more about those in a little while. So the hardware, the chipset is the Snapdragon 805. The CPU is a 2.7 GHz quad-core Crate 450, and the GPU is the Adreno 420. Within that, it has 3 GB of RAM as well. With all those specs, it does actually benchmarks higher than any other device that I've used, even the Note 4. Only just, I mean, not by a huge amount, but it does give up some pretty amazing scores. Also, this phone is still encrypted. A lot of people claim that slows it down, it slows read-write speeds. But all the benchmarking I've done, I haven't bothered rooting and unencrypting. Others do claim they see some lag because of the encryption, and they've unencrypted it and it's much better, but personally I've not seen any at all. I think it's nice and smooth. I have no problems at all anywhere. You can see there, look, very slick. The screen itself is 2560 by 1440 on the 5.96 inch AMOLED screen. That's 493 pixels per inch, so not the highest possible, because the Note 4's got the same amount of pixels but in a slightly smaller screen. I have read people saying that it's a year-old AMOLED technology, but personally I think it looks fantastic. Viewing angles are very good, screen brightness, even outdoors, it's very readable. I would point out the glass is only Gorilla Glass 3. Gorilla Glass 4 is now out and about. It's on the Note 4, for example, but this only has the third iteration. Not that should be particularly a problem. As I mentioned in the design, I'm really falling in love with these front-facing speakers. I think they give out fantastic sound. Well, first of all, we'll do it with my podcast.
Creates an issue enough times that I don't trust it, so I just go for the one that I know is going to work. You know. Yeah. So there's that. Hangouts news. Not a whole lot to report on this.
I mean, that's to the point where of an evening I have to turn it really down quite low, otherwise it's just too loud. When if I'm going to bed and I just listen to a bit of a podcast, perhaps, really very loud. So again, it's not it's not so loud that you're going to hold a party and everyone dance around your phone, but it's got good volume that you could put some music on and from your phone. And what I like is it's quite a rounded sound. You get a reasonable bit of bass. I mean, again, not a lot of bass. It's a tiny little phone, but you do get some bass. It's not totally tinny. So, personally, very impressed with the speaker. Possibly the best that I've heard. I'm trying to recall. I remember the HTC One M8 had very good front-facing speakers, but I think these are slightly louder with possibly as good sound quality. One thing to note: the LTE-A modem is only classified up to Cat 4, I believe. I don't entirely know what that means, but it effectively means it limits the speeds to 100 megabits instead of 300 megabits. But in the UK, I don't think that's going to be a limiting factor for some time. I think it pretty much will go as fast as our networks allow for the next few years, basically. Couple of omissions, in my opinion. Well, they're there, but they took them out. So the notification light, there is one apparently somewhere up in this area here, and if you root, you can re-enable it. I don't know. I can't say I've massively missed it, but at the same time, I may have missed notifications. I didn't realise. I mean, what they have instead is the ambient light, which generally works quite well, although it seems to have sort of turned itself off there. No, we'll see. It generally works quite well, so effectively you pick your phone up. I suppose I haven't got any notifications, have I, at this point? Oh, I have, so it should be showing me. Also, tap to wake just isn't there. It was apparently in the earlier versions. They took it out before release because I don't think it was all that reliable, basically. I really miss it. I love tap to wake, especially when there's no front-facing button. So those two for me are quite big elements that I would really like. You can re-enable them by rooting. At this point, just yet, I haven't rooted, but I may do just to bring those two elements back into play. The only thing I suppose worth pointing out, it doesn't have infrared like a lot of other phones do these days. For me, no real issue with that though. Going to talk a little bit about the camera. So the main rear-facing camera is 13 megapixels. It does have optical image stabilization built in, so effectively the lens can move slightly inside to kind of eliminate camera shake and help in dark conditions. The front-facing camera is 2 megapixel, which is good enough. It's not quite as good as some of the other devices out there at the moment, but 2 should be sufficient for you. I'm quite impressed with the shutter speed. It's pretty quick. I mean, obviously it needs to get focused first, but once it's focused, it's very, very fast. And the focus generally is quick enough as well. I think the HDR results are pretty impressive as well. Took some very good HDR photos. See my camera test if you want to see more about the actual camera. Likewise, I've done video comparisons and video tests, it generally looks very good. Obviously, it can film up to 4K. I did find that sometimes the focus would bounce a little bit while filming. It kind of come in and out, but generally lock back in again relatively quickly. I also find the actual camera software a little bit awkward. I couldn't actually recreate it, but the first time I tried to switch to do front-facing camera, video with the front-facing camera, I found myself going around in circles a little bit, swapping from camera to video, then to the front-facing camera, and before I know it, somehow I was on the back-facing camera. But like I said, actually, when I've done it since, it seemed to work fine, so I don't know quite what I was doing the first time. But still, please put the picture and the video buttons on the same screen so we don't have to switch back and forward. So all in all, though, there's the glance look. The Nexus 5, a lot of people didn't like the camera on it. I didn't really have a big problem, but the Nexus 6, the camera is really very good. Have a look at that camera video. So, Lollipop. Personally, I think it's a beautiful operating system. It was a big leap when we moved to Ice Cream Sandwich from the previous design, and now Material design within Lollipop I just think it's really beautiful. It's smooth, it's slick, it's well animated. Just the whole thing to me is so smooth. I've noticed that there's not a sort of close all on the app switcher, but at the same time, if you reboot, that all's still there. So it's not necessarily things that have been running recently. I suppose it is, but not. So things have been running recently rather than things that hold in memory, I suppose. But you can obviously close them or slide them out from there, should you wish. But yeah, generally Lollipop, I think it's coming on leaps and bounds, Android, and Lollipop is just, obviously by far it's the prettiest looking version of Android we'd have. I do like the glance feature. Let's see if we can get it to work again. Maybe not now, I've just dismissed those things, but you saw it in action. When there is a notification, it puts it up in black and white, so it shouldn't be a big battery drain. You still have to press the power to bring it back into sort of full colour and then to carry on operating. As someone who doesn't generally lock my phone, I do love Smart Lock. Now, at this point, I can turn it on, and it goes straight, obviously, to the device. There's two different things. Let's go quickly into the settings, and I'll show you. There we are, Smart Lock. So, it is passworded, the screen lock, which I need because I've got work stuff on my phone, and the security protocols ensure that it will only install if it's meets the relevant security things, such as a 6 or more digit passcode. But I can do things like, this isn't new. I can have it so it doesn't lock for 2 minutes after I turn the device off. Power button is still on, blah, blah, blah. But this is the bit particularly. Oh, bear with me. So you have to confirm your password to get in, so no one else can get in and start mucking around with it. So, for example, trusted devices. So anytime it's connected to my car, speaker, or my watch, that's the big one. Anytime it's connected to my watch, or I'm at home, or it's the particular address there, then it basically won't bother asking for a password. I think that's a fantastic idea. So if I've got this on me, and I'm wearing my smartwatch, it knows that I've got the device and it won't ask me. If I was to leave the device on a table and walk away down a corridor and my watch disconnects from the phone, someone turns it on, it's asking for a password. So it's still secure. Obviously, the issue can be, like, I've handed my phone to somebody, they can obviously do whatever they want because I'm within range. But if I leave it somewhere, or I leave it on a bus or in a taxi, they can't actually get in. And the phone is encrypted by default, as I mentioned earlier. It took me a little while. I'll point out to you while I'm in the settings. It took me a little while to work out how to turn off the haptic feedback on the buttons along the bottom, because I really don't like it buzzing each time I press that button. And then I found, just in case anyone else is looking, sound and notification, other sounds. There it is, look, vibrate on touch. I guess it should have been easy for me to find, but it took me a little while. I do like full screen images. I don't know if I'll get the lock screen though now.
Hangouts news, not a whole lot to report on this. There's an update to Hangouts that brings filters and stickers.
No.
More stickers, there you go.
But you get the full image on the lock screen, which is quite nice. I'm not sure that's new actually, but again, because I don't often use lock screens, I don't really notice it before. I'm going to mention the battery next. So it's a 3,220 milliamp hour battery, but it also has Qualcomm's Quick Charge 2.0. That basically means when you plug in the charger that comes with the Nexus, it uses 9 volts and 1.6 amps, which gives you 14.4 watts. Now, most chargers are, a lot of them are sort of 5 volt 1 amp, or some of them are 5 volt 2 amps, which gives you 10 watts, but this thing will give you almost 14.5 watts. That means it's going to charge much, much quicker, and obviously it only does that when you're on lower battery powers. It won't do it, I think, after 75% of your battery, you go back to a normal charging rate. But what that does mean, if you get down low, like 20% or so, and you need to just quickly plug it in for a little while before you leave work, even in 10 minutes, you'll get quite a nice boost, which should keep you going through the rest of the day. I was quite worried. It was I think it was day 3 that I had the device. We had our work Christmas meal, and I was shooting a lot of 4K video. Well, I say a lot. It was probably 9 or 10 minutes worth of it. And then by about 3 o'clock, I was down to 28% battery, so I had to leave my phone in the office plugged in to charge back up again. And this really worried me. But actually, the next day, went off to work, came home. I charged, obviously, my drive in and my drive out. And the benchmark that set, the 1+1 set, I still had 82% when I got home with that device. And actually, on day 4, I had 80% when I got home. So actually, it improved a lot. Maybe it just needed one decent cycle to then to get the best out of the battery. generally I'm getting I only have maybe 2 hours screen on time through a day, 16 hours use, and normally I'm at least 45% at the end of the day when I do that. Yesterday, drove into work with it charging, so I got out of the car with it being 100% at about 6:15 in the morning. It was quite an early start for me. I then drove home at about 5:30. It charged for another probably about 40 minutes, but even that's only going to charge it maybe 10%. And I still had 90% battery. Now, this is how many hours now are we on? 6, 4, 8, 32 hours on. Like I say, it's charged for about 40 minutes in the car, and I'm still at 24%. Unfortunately, a lot of the stats reset since I charged on my journey home. So we've only got since then when it was 90 to now. So yesterday at 7 p.m. and it's still saying I've got 7 hours left on 24%. Saying that easily I'll get through. Well, no, where are we? So yeah, we're there. So easily, obviously, I'll get to the end of the day, and it's 2 o'clock now. If you didn't see, but I think that's quite impressive performance. Screen on time since I got out of the car, 1 hour and 18. So it was probably another hour and a half in the car. So I've had probably almost 3 hours screen on time in a sort of a 30. What did I say? I don't know. It's about a 30-hour period, and I've still got 24% battery left. And to think that I could plug this in, and within half an hour I'm probably back up to 70-odd%, I think the battery, for me, the battery isn't a concern at all. So, being a Nexus device, the factory images are available on Google's own website. You have to remember it's nicknamed the Shamu. Well, you don't have to remember, it's a Nexus 6. And you can see here, look, 5.0.1, there's a direct download link. That's been there for a good few days already. So if you're fed up of waiting for it to be pushed to you over the air, you can just download that file. There's even instructions above of how to flash the file. It's relatively simple. You, in all likelihood, as it says here, look, this is raised all data on the target device, unlocking the bootloader. So just be wary. Try and ensure you know what you're doing, really, if you're going to do that. But the option is there. Then if we head to the Nexus 6 forum, this being a Nexus device is always going to have plenty of support. We can see here there's 20 threads already in the Android development and 9 in the original Android development. There'll be a variety of ROMs will pop up. The toolkit also very handy, I'm told. Where's it gone? Somewhere around here. There we go. Look, toolkit. I'm told very useful. I haven't used it myself because mine's still unlocked and I haven't done. It's not rooted or anything, but very handy should you wish to go that route. You'll see different ROMs. Look, 5.0.1 ROMs and stuff like that. But I do have to wonder to myself. A lot of people say the Nexus. Well, it's meant to be unlocked and flashed and this, that, and the other, and mucked around with, which I can understand. But at the same time, Lollipop now is just so beautiful and so slick. I'm not sure you really do need to muck around with it too much. That's what I'm trying not to, and I've not really had any need. Perhaps maybe the notification light and the tap to wait would be nice, but apart from that, Lollipop itself is pretty special already as it is. But if flashing ROMs is your thing, I'm sure with the Nexus 6 you won't be disappointed. So, in conclusion, I think 2 years ago even I would have been saying, nah, it's just too big. It's a huge, big, unwieldy device. These days I can't get enough of the big screen. Even on internet forums, less and less are you seeing people saying, nah, that thing's just crazy too big, no way. It's still there, there's people obviously still that it is too big for, fair enough. But I think more and more it's kind of accepted that this size of device is a good size. I think from the Nexus 5, there were two big flaws that I saw a lot of people complain about. One was the camera, although I didn't really have that problem. I thought it was a pretty good camera. Not amazing, but pretty good. And the battery life. And I can see where people came from. I never needed mine to last all that long, and it always was fine for me. But I could understand that heavy users probably would burn through it in 10 to 12 hours, and that wasn't good enough. Those two flaws for me have been addressed with the Nexus 6. The camera, amazing, one of the better ones on the market, not the best, but one of the better ones. And the battery at 3220 and fast charge thrown in as well, I don't think really anyone's going to have complaints or issues in that respect. Or if you do, there's probably something set up wrong on your phone. Look into what it is, you can probably get it fixed. So all in all, I think it's got a great screen, nice big huge screen. The speakers are amazing, possibly the best on any mobile phone right now. The battery, brilliant, gets you through at least a day, if not two. The hardware is pretty much top end, a couple of bits not quite there perhaps, but the benchmarks results, best I've seen, even well encrypted. The design, I think it's a lovely sleek design, you shouldn't really have any complaints there. Lollipop is just a beautiful slick operating system. Obviously you're going to get the updates pretty much before anyone else. And I think also the price range, so you can actually, if you're sneaky, pick one of these up for about £409 on O2 refresh and then just cancel the contract. Even if you're buying outright, I paid £480 for mine, SIM free. Or no, pay as you go, sorry, then you can just discard the SIM afterwards. So I think all in all, if you're into your large devices, you really should take a look at the Nexus 6. It really is a good phone with, I think, very few drawbacks. My name's Andy, I'll catch you all again soon.